Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to the first stream of the new year. And what a fucking episode this is going to be.
I don't even know where to start.
I honestly don't either. I'll
I
start
mean,
with
I do,
this. I
but
mean, true. I mean, I'll start with this though. We have a big announcement. Some of you know this already, but we do have a big announcement. But I'm going to be a little tease with it, and I'm going to save it to the end. Um, that way we
ooh,
give a chance for everybody else to hop in here,
such a
and
tease.
and that way everybody gets a chance to hear what our announcement is if they don't know already. But yeah, as the title said, when you guys got your notification and came onto this lovely live stream of our podcast, what the fuck, America?
Really,
What the
really
fuck?
closing out 2020. Actually, that was 2021.
Yeah, we are 10 days into the free trial, and I already don't want it anymore. I would like to, I would like to cancel my subscription to 2021.
May I return my purchase?
This is
I didn't ask for this.
I didn't want this, but I feel like this is just left over from 2020, so maybe it'll get better.
Fingers crossed. I mean, it can't get any worse. It
I
was.
mean, let's not go that far because it definitely could. But I don't want to talk speak things into existence over here, but yeah. So,
It was. It was really the perfect storm, though.
honestly, honestly it
And
was.
when you have the president that has clearly lost and is still refusing to accept the fact that he lost, look, there's probably voter fraud. Okay, there's fraud in every election. Suck, say what you want, happens in every election. Was there even nearly enough to overturn and flip to get a Trump presidency? There's no way.
No,
So give it
absolutely
up.
not. There's no way.
You're
You just
done.
at this point you need to accept the fact that you lost and quit being a big baby about it. Because what you're doing now and what he's doing now is subverting democracy.
That's what he wanted Mike Pence to do.
And yeah, and he wanted Mike and he wanted Mike Pence to subvert democracy. And I'm not the biggest fan of Mike Pence, but at least the guy had a decent like a good enough head on his shoulders to go, no, my oath and duty to the Constitution first kind of prohibits me from doing anything within the scope of my power to try and get all of these, suspect states to go back and recount. And so what we had this past, oh God, what day was that? It was Wednesday.
It
So,
was.
so what we had happen on Wednesday was you had a big crybaby, and let me just actually preface this with this. These are my own thoughts and opinions, and these are not representative of any branch of the United States military. I just got to get that disclaimer out there before we continue. Anyway, yeah, so you had a big baby go out there and hold a rally for all of his supporters that wanted to come to DC and listen to him speak and all and listen to him ramble on for however long he rambled on about how the election was fraudulent. It was dumb. Biden didn't win. They actually won in a landslide because at one point he was winning, and that's when he just latched onto that part and couldn't accept the fact that the votes kept rolling in.
Let me add something to that real quick so
Yeah.
we don't look past it. This is the morning all of the final votes, excuse me, in Georgia are being counted. So not only are you still refusing to believe that you're not the president, but you just really hurt Georgia by disputing the election up until this point where if you just would have come out and said, "Hey, look, we lost the election, but now more than ever, we need Republican turnout in Georgia so that we can at least hold the Senate."
Right.
And he refused to do that.
Yeah, he didn't
If
do
he would
that.
have sent that message to Trump supporters, they would have actually showed up to the polls to vote red instead of constantly disputing it and saying that it was rigged, it was rigged, it was rigged. Well, now you really think your supporters are going to go out and vote?
Mm-mm.
They're going to vote back into that same system. You've already told them it doesn't matter. So why
Yeah,
even
you've
show
already
up?
told them that the system's broken and it doesn't work. So they're like,
You
oh, well, if it's
idiot.
broken and it doesn't work, then we're not going to do it.
That's what I'm
So,
most pissed about in
yeah.
this whole situation. Just random sidebar. But
And
anyway, continue.
so he heads, and they also conveniently holds this rally the morning of a special joint session of Congress so they could come together and certify the electoral college votes. So he did that. So now what you have is a bunch of hopped up Trump supporters that are out there just feeding on his every twisted word. And then the rally ends. And so instead of telling them to be like, all right, thanks for coming out, like go home, he was just like, bye. And they all like, I don't even know who
Not
started it.
not only that, he stood on the stage and said, "We're going to the Capitol, and I'm going with you." He it was already planned after the rally for everybody to go to the Capitol,
Right.
but he like incited that
So this man
riot,
is
you could say,
inciting a mob, and
which is extremely against the law.
yeah, huge, yeah, definitely, yeah, for sure, it's against the law. And then conveniently, none of the Trump people marched with them. They didn't go. I didn't see them there at all during the ensuing chaos.
Hell no.
So these Trumpers, the MAGA people, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, just marched onto the to Capitol Hill, and instead of just standing out there, um, and protesting and like screaming and shouting and blah 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 and doing whatever, they say, you know what, fuck it, let's go in and subvert democracy even more and break into a federal building that you're not allowed, like it's a federal crime. And what's even more ironic about this is Trump put out an executive order back during all the BLM stuff that said if you destroy federal property, you're going to jail for 10 years. And
Which
then
is not a bad
it's not a
law.
bad executive order at all.
No.
And then this dude, and then like here they go, and then boom, they break into the Capitol building. All of the joint Congress, all the congressmen and the senators are just like whisked away to their offices and even off the premises, because these dudes are breaking the glass, breaking in, um, just fucking going crazy.
They had to take the secret tunnels, man.
Yeah,
That's what happens during a real terrorist
yeah.
attack.
They
Like,
take the tunnels and they
which,
get out of
not to
there.
say this wasn't a real terrorist attack, but
Hmm.
anyway.
So yeah, they go in there and they do their thing, and and people are in Nancy Pelosi's office posing on her desk. People are stealing a fucking podium. People are sitting in the chair that my Vice President Pence was just sitting in moments before, sitting in the chair that
Which
Nancy Pelosi was sitting in just moments before, and
a glorious little tidbit of this is not only if they were wearing a mask would they have been being neighborly, but it could have assisted them in evading federal charges.
right, yeah.
So
So
when it would be most convenient and really for you to gain from it, like you would actually have personal gain by wearing a mask. They're still like, fuck that mask, man. I'm getting in. This is our country. This is people's house, brother.
yeah, and then you got a bunch of people not wearing masks, so now they're all gonna get the Rona, and they, like Alex said, have now, with all the pictures, and they're all stupid because they all took pictures and videos of each other doing all this shit, and
What did
it's
they think was
all
gonna
online,
happen?
and it's all online, and so
What the hell
now,
did they think was gonna happen?
you've been identified, and so now the FBI is gonna come for you. Like you're not getting away from this like scot free. And I've heard a lot of people, and this is where I'm gonna get into some stuff, and you guys can crucify me for this later, but actually before I get into that, number one, I'm gonna say I'm gonna have to eat some crow here because earlier in one of our other podcasts, I had said I don't believe that if Biden gets elected, people on the right are gonna riot like they did when Trump got elected.
May I pause you for a second?
Yeah,
Squash says also podium guy kind of look like you, Alex, and
just
I completely resent that fact. That I am. I mean, look at this mustache. You you think a dude could grow a mustache like this?
I don't know.
Get,
That dude
get
did
real.
kind of look like you a little bit.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so I'm gonna eat a little bit of crow here, and eat my words and say I was wrong on that. I was wrong on that call. I called it wrong because they went and rioted and stormed the Capitol building, and went from there. So
I think we both went on record saying,
I
well,
think we both did.
if Biden wins, well, and we were more so talking about, not to say that I was wrong. If you had asked me if that was going to happen, after Trump lost, I'd have been like, no. I mean, maybe in a crazy world.
Yeah, well, here we are. We're in the crazy
Yeah.
world.
I
So,
yeah.
so anyway, so this is what I'm gonna say. I've seen a lot of people talking about like, asking and stuff and be like, why wasn't there a bigger police force out like protecting the Capitol, like all this other stuff? Because they were like there was a larger police presence when the Black Lives Matter protests were marching through Washington and that kind of stuff. And I'm not. This is my view on it, my opinion. Um, and I'll look at it this way: when the Black Lives Matter protests came to DC, DC had seen how those protests had gone throughout the rest of the country, and looked at that and said, "Oh shit, we're gonna need a bigger police presence just in case something goes south." And so they had that. And I did listen to the mayor of DC and some other people like talk and cover, and they had put requests in for more police to show up and be there. But the thing is with this is I feel like they did not expect this rally, this Trump rally, to go this way. So they weren't planning. They didn't have a contingency plan in place, and readily like there to be deployed if this rally went the way that it did. So I feel that they had kind of written off that potential happening and just went with what they had. And so when it did escalate, they were like, "Oh shit, we need more police presence and like the National Guard and stuff, and we need it now." But and this is the logistical part of this because other people were like, "Oh, it took them so long to get there." Okay, yeah, it does, but you realize they had to mobilize multiple police forces that they had called in. There's police presence from Baltimore, D.C., the Capitol Police, even some police from the New Jersey State Police. So where I live in Jersey, the New Jersey State Police even went down. So they got a lot of people that they had to mobilize and get briefed and then get out there. And then the same thing goes for the National Guard. What people don't understand is like the National Guard gets called up, but it's not just like they're always ready and waiting. Okay, the National Guard are basically the same thing as reservists, right? So you got a bunch of dudes that were sitting
Civilians.
at their house. Yeah, civilians at this point were sitting at their house,
Or at
not a drill weekend. They're not out
or
there
at
doing
or
their
at work.
thing. Yeah, or at work,
They if they
and
were
they
a window
get
salesman, they could have been running a window sales
right
appointment,
exactly.
you
So then
know?
they all get a text and a phone call that says, "Get your ass to wherever they needed to be. You know, bring all your shit." So they get all their they gotta get all their shit together. They gotta get dressed, and they gotta and then they have to like mobilize and deploy them and go from there.
Yeah, and
And so it takes a minute.
I think Abby's question also shout out to Gale Force for being here.
Right, and the follow that she
Um,
dropped early.
yeah, thank you. She says, my question is, why didn't they think this would happen? Why didn't they expect or plan? And I think I watched it all unfold. I turned on Fox News that morning because they were counting the final votes in Georgia, and I was nervous about us losing the Senate. Us, not us.
The Republicans.
I'm a centrist, but I wanted to at least hold the Republican Congress. And I'm cool with the White House president being Democrat, cool with the House being Democrat. I think it really does achieve an equal balance of power, especially after the last 4 years we've had. Anyway, when they all showed up, I don't think they knew that many people were going to show up.
Right.
I think that they anticipated a large crowd, which there was. And even when Trump was talking, he came out right away to talk to that crowd. And he was like, the fake news, they're not going to turn their cameras around and show all the hundreds of thousands of people that are here. And even when he said that, I was like, sure, Donnie, like, I'm sure there's some people behind the camera, but there's not 100,000 people there. Like, not 100,000 people showed up for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all started marching towards the Capitol. I'm like, oh shit, that's a
There's like a
like
fuck ton of people there.
There's a lot of people there.
So I think there
All the
was
Trump flags, man. It was insane.
so
They were
many
like
Trump flags.
cockroaches, dude. It
Yeah,
was
it
wild
was
to
wild.
watch.
So I didn't get to watch it through the whole day. I started watching when I got home at about 4 o'clock, and pretty much, I got somebody at work told me like right about 3 p.m. Eastern time is when they really started like trying to get into the Capitol and stuff. So I watched the majority of that part of it unfold on the news when I got home. And the
No,
thing,
man, I'm telling you, I watched every step
yeah,
of it, and I was as surprised. Like I was, 10 minutes in, I was surprised. Oh, we're Democrats are going to win the Senate. Then I'm like, oh, Donald is going to be Donald. Not that surprising, but and then he said we're going to go to the Capitol. I'm like, kind of surprised by that. And then everybody started going to the Capitol. I'm like, oh shit, they're at the Capitol. Then they're inside the Capitol. I'm like, oh shit, they're inside the Capitol. And then it was reported shots fired in the Capitol. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
yeah, yeah.
What in the world?
Shit got crazy. And
What is happening?
the thing that really irked me about the whole thing is like all that started, and then Trump came back out on camera and said, he was telling people, like, please be, be peaceful, like, let's not be violent, respect the law, all this other stuff. But at the same time, like, literally right after he said that, he was like, we know this was a fraudulent election. We won it in a landslide, blah, 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 blah. But please go home and be peaceful, blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, you cannot say stuff like that. You
No.
can't sit there and go, please go home and be peaceful and respect the law,
And you're
and
fantastic
then
people.
you're all, and he literally, that was the thing that bugged me.
He
He's like,
called
you're,
them
he
fantastic
goes,
people.
you're all very special people. And I was
You're
like, shut the fuck up. No one's special. Stop. No one's special. But the thing that irked me the most is he talked in circles in that thing, which he's a master at talking in circles. That's all he does.
he says the
And
same
then
thing 100 times,
the thing that
and just
pissed,
like you said, just talks in
it just pissed
crazy
me off
circles.
to no end, because he was like, go home, but then was giving them what they wanted, was giving them the words that I was like, they're not going to go home, because they all have their phones and they just were like, oh shit, Trump's live or Trump's on the news. What did he say? Be peaceful. Fuck that. What else did he say? Oh,
Yeah.
this was a fraudulent election. Continue storming the Capitol. The president said it was fraudulent and that we won. Don't let him count the votes. Like, what the fuck? No, like, this whole thing that happened, it just stunk to high heaven of like, what the fuck happens in the Middle East when they have a democratic election.
Dude, it was embarrassing.
And
It was
it sucked. And it was just, it was a bunch of small-minded people listening to a small-minded man, and none of them remembered anything they got taught in school about how democracy works or elections work or anything like that. They just said,
That's
fuck that, dude. Let's just storm it, and we're going to make sure Trump gets another 4 years. Like, I called
all
my dad when it happened. I was like, dude, this civil war is coming. We're going to fucking be fighting each other.
my dad called me, and the first words he said were, well, this is pretty goddamn embarrassing, don't you think?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like,
yeah, yeah, it sure is. Like, this is really something, man. I don't even know what to say about it, because it's just they're so, and I think there's a good point in there that people can connect with, and they're assholes, they're jerks,
yeah. And like,
they're
I'll tell you guys this. Like, Alex
psychos,
and I
whatever you want.
both don't, like, we're not condoning what happened, like, at all.
I hope us just completely trash talking them for the last 30 minutes suggests our feelings on this. But if you're going to look at it introspectively, because I feel like a lot of America is saying, Mac, my brother was actually telling me about this, and he heard it on a podcast. I think it was Brett Weinstein was saying, instead of saying, what in the hell are these Trump supporters thinking? And just immediately writing that off as like they're just idiots and they're assholes, which they are, right? But if you look at it more introspectively and say, what are they thinking? Like, really try to understand what they're thinking. And it's what a lot on both the right and the left feel and think about our government. Like, nobody likes our government right now. Nobody likes our two-party system. It's fucked. Our system is fucked. We end up with the lesser of two evil vote every 4 years, and something needs to gotta change with our system, because they're basically, their level of frustration is just frustration with the government, which I feel like most people can connect with.
Right. Now I saw
You
video
know?
clips of people being like, it's a revolution. And I'm like, okay, like, fine. Not really. Like, this is just a mob mentality, and you guys are trashing a federal building, and this really has no, like, it's not a revolution. It seemed more akin to a fucking coup.
Well,
But it's like, if you want to affect change, you can do it without being violent. Like we've been preaching about since the start of like this fucking podcast, is just get out, educate yourselves, and vote. vote in such a way that this, like, if you don't like, you don't want Biden as president, fine, go vote. But what happened this time is more people were fed up with Trump and his administration than didn't like Biden, so they voted for Biden.
And you know what? If you think it's a fraud election, at first I'm not because I wanted to see people protesting for Trump. But that's not the reason why I'm going to say I thought it was kind of cool. Like a bunch of people gathered around peacefully protesting. It was super peaceful at first. And I'm like, at least these people are doing something because they feel like they were wronged. I might not agree with them, but at least they're exercising their amendment rights. And then when they started scaling stuff, I was like, whoa, like this is getting ridiculous. And then they're just marching on in because
Yeah,
technically you can go in to the Capitol, but you can't obviously try to enter the room where they're counting electoral college votes
right,
like
right, right,
idiots. And that's what they kept saying. Well, whose house is that? That's the house of the people. And like, yeah, you're right. But to a point, you can't just try to create just chaos
right.
when we're trying to finalize the next president. Like, I understand you're pissed, and that's fine. Go outside and wave your flags and chant and pray and sing, whatever you want to do, go out there. And then when the mayor puts a curfew in at 6 o'clock, it's time to go home,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
they didn't, like, cause I eventually stopped watching because I was like, I just can't take this anymore, and they were just like out all night doing their shit. Let me catch up with chat real fast. Ed Nuts, I'm glad to see you here. Welcome back. Ed Nuts said she just got a notification saying the House will proceed with the impeachment of Trump. Let's get into that later. We'll take a look at that later on.
Yeah, they won't. Yeah.
Everybody's saying obviously they didn't expect him to get in. Why weren't there more police? We kind of already covered that whole
Yeah.
situation. Squash, my brother said, he just sent me the video, and that's the link in the chat to the police actually opening the gates for the protesters, the barricades. So I'll just show
No,
the I'll show the first little bit of it. Hopefully we don't get fucking
oh, perfect.
DMCA.
I got so whooped up, and
Police
I'm
are
already getting
squabbling
sweaty. I
with
drank too much first beer,
protesters.
so I'm going to take this opportunity to run and grab another one real quick.
Okay, sounds
You show
good.
this.
Let me monitor how loud this is gonna be.
Oh. Police are squabbling with protesters. Oh, there we go. And they just breached the Capitol again.
All right, so that's just more of what we already know. I want to know more, I guess, of the context of why they opened the gates, and this dude maybe just be making assumptions that it was because, there was Trumpers on the police force. If that is the case, and those police opened the gates and let the protesters in because they agreed with them and, support Trump or whatever, then those police are in the wrong because they've just foregone their duty as officers of the law to uphold and keep the peace, and just decided, fuck that, and got on side with the mob. Then those officers we need to figure out who they are, and they need to be reprimanded and even fired from their jobs if that's how that went down.
Well, I think this is speculation because I haven't seen or heard any like actual factual evidence, but I do know that they were specifically given non-fire orders, so don't use your firearm. And I think along with that, the attempt was to keep everything as peaceful as possible and not get a lot of people bunched into one area and squished up, which isn't a good reason. Like, there's gates there for a reason.
Right.
Obviously, you probably shouldn't. And then them walking into the Capitol building, they're taking the red lines and moving them out and moving them out. Like, that's not police. That's the people who are protesting, rioters.
Right.
But that was clearly some sort of initiative, and I think it was not right or wrong. I'm not saying it was a good initiative, but I think that's kind of what their orders were, if I understand it
Right.
correctly.
And I got more to say on that. Let me just catch up with Chad just a little bit more. These people are actively participating in domestic terrorism, so why weren't they treated as foreign terrorists? That was a question from Combo, and then Gail and Ed Nuts concurred with him.
Well, again, it's the House of the People, right? So like it's not against the law to go inside the Capitol building. People do it every day. You know, it's very much against the law.
To break windows to get into the Capitol building.
Yeah, that's when you start becoming a terrorist against your own country.
Right.
You know, if it was Al Qaeda showing up to storm the Capitol, they would have said, "Oh shit, this is Al Qaeda. Not good. They're probably planning to do what our own citizens plan to do." But there's a distinction there between known intent and what ended up happening.
Right. And, you know, the news has said that they found at least a couple of pipe bombs and one Molotov cocktail.
Yeah.
So there were definitely some people in and amongst that mob that had nefarious intent. Because like I've said before, there's always that 5 to 10% of people in a group that is just going to do the worst thing possible. And obviously this was no exception to that.
What I find
So-
funny is that people on the right and the left still find a way to argue with the same exact narrative. It's the same thing. We understand there's a lot of peaceful people there, and some of them turned violent, which is not acceptable. It happened with the Black Lives Matter protests. It happened at the Capitol.
Right.
It's the same narrative. We don't have to keep arguing about it.
And this
anymore.
is the
Let's find
thing-
a way to weed out that 5%. Keep
And this
them
is
out.
the thing that annoys me after I was, you know, done watching the news and scrolling through Twitter and stuff and seeing and some of the things that you sent me as well. And even things that other people had said the days following, they were like, well, if that was a bunch of black people, they would have just got mowed down. And I was like, nope. I was like, that's a very naive and small-minded way of looking at this thing. And you yourself as are propagating and continuing to propagate the racial divide in this country by saying things like that. So you might think that you are, on the side of equality and justice, and that you're doing what you need to do to be a friend and to be understanding to how black people in this country feel, and that's good and that's fine. Do that because I'm of the same opinion that yes, there's racial inequality and there's always been racial inequality in this country, and it's not right and it's not fair. But at the same time, you can't do that and then tweet things out that say, and this is from even I saw it was Chris Evans, Captain America. So this is Captain America, you guys, tweeting out, "Imagine if they were black." Like, it's not. And then I have had other friends that posted messages similar to the same thing, and it's like you're not helping the situation either, especially you celebrities that have a larger platform and a bigger following. And when you say things like that, it's not helping bring the country together, united to heal and to work together. It's continuing to propagate the racial divide.
And there were a few different groups of black Trump supporters there that were wearing shirts saying Black Trump supporters. How many of them did you see storm the Capitol? None of them. Why? Because they're intelligent. They're smart. They know better. They were there to do their amendment rights, their God-given rights.
And if I want to
and they obeyed the law.
If I just want to be
were arrested, none of them were shot.
Yeah, if I want to be that guy, the people that stormed the Capitol, most of them looked like they were a couple bricks short of a load.
Exactly.
And they looked like white trash.
Probably dealing with PTSD or I don't know what.
A whole bunch of things, but none of those people looked. And this is crucify me for this later chat and YouTube and everybody else on whatever platform you listen on. But those people looked ignorant.
They were,
they were clearly very ignorant. But I could
your
tell.
First clue, Ben?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, not just like by physical, by physical appearance, and obviously by their actions. Yes, they were very ignorant. But like looking at those people, I was like, you're not too bright, are you, Chief?
Perfect example is the one woman that got shot and killed.
And I don't know the situation surrounding that, and they haven't really released many details on that.
She was a 17-year veteran in the Air Force. Right? Which, thank you for your service. Can't thank you enough. All of her TikTok posts, she was a lunatic, man. She was so pro-Trump. She was clear. Like, all of those people are just blind Trump supporters. Ignorant, right? basic definition. It- Do I thank her for her service? Yes. Do I think that she shouldn't have been shot? No. I'm sorry. Like, it's the same. It's
There's
funny
a
because I saw so many left-leaning friends, which if you want to lean left, that's fine, tweeting things like you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Yes,
yeah,
that's what I said in the Black Lives Matter
I
protest.
don't disagree with
That's what
that.
I'm saying now.
And
If
and
you play stupid games, you're gonna win stupid prizes.
both of us will say that
You
every
break the
time.
law. I know. It doesn't matter what color your skin is.
If you
Like,
break the law and do
recognize
something
the
that
action, eliminate the racial divide within it, look at that person as a person, regardless of what color their skin is, and say, I'm sorry, but you doesn't matter if you're black or white. That lady died. Am I sad that she lost her life? Yes. Am I sad when anyone loses their life? Yes. Do I feel sorry for her? No. I'm sorry. I don't.
Right.
I don't feel sorry.
and there was 3 other people that died there, and they haven't released much other than saying medical emergencies. So who knows? Could have been something to do with the tear gas that they used or excessive
One
force
was
or
a
something. I don't
cop.
know. Yeah, one was a cop.
They said that they beat him with a fire extinguisher, but I think that was like an extreme left. I think what happened is he was one of the ones they were spraying the fire extinguisher at.
Oh, and he asphyxiated.
And he might have had respiratory issues, or they might have just sprayed enough shit in his face to where he.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you get sprayed enough with a fire extinguisher, you're not gonna be able to breathe too well. Whether you have
Let me put it this way: had they been peacefully protesting, that officer most likely would not have died unless it was like a crazy heart attack.
Fuck, not even just him.
Those odds are so minimal. Like
not even just him. Like nobody would have died if they had just remained peaceful and
know.
not tried to bust into the fucking Capitol
stand
building.
outside, wave your flags, man. Do your thing.
Be angry, yell and
your
scream that you
constitutional-
think the fucking election was busted, but at the end of the day, you need to sit down, look at it, and go, all right, we lost. Let's move on. And I saw something earlier today. I actually watched it, and it was a video from Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was on his Twitter. And I didn't agree with a lot of the things that Arnold did as the governor of California, but this video I actually agreed with a lot of the things he said, because he, throughout the entirety of the video he put out, said multiple times, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, let's put our political differences aside, come back together, unite and heal as a country and move forward. And he obviously condemned the actions that took place on Capitol Hill. But it was a pretty good video. I actually liked it. I don't think I'm going to I'm not going to show it on the stream, but if you want, go to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Twitter. It's probably more than likely going to be the pinned tweet at the top of his page, and watch the video. It's not very long. It's like 7 minutes. And it was actually a good listen, and I appreciated it and gained respect for Arnold for what he said in that video. So I was just,
I didn't watch that video. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think I saw it. I was catching up with Combo. He said,
got you.
You missed some stuff that I said earlier in chat.
Yeah, I think he's referring to the fact that he said, little boy Donald prevented them from planning, and I don't think that he had anything to do with the planning. That fell into the mayor of DC's jurisdiction.
Well, and they had the police chief of that Washington district on,
and the police and the Department of Defense, because they requested National Guard.
He was basically laying it out very well, actually. Happens to be a black guy. And again, very intelligent. I'll never say anything. Just want to be clear about that. I don't care if he's black or white or whatever. But
He's
he
an
was
intelligent person that laid it out.
intelligently laying it out how it all played out. And again, I think they got caught on their heels. They didn't expect. They expected a turnout. They expected some, maybe some ruffling. But the level that those people took it, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No.
And you guys know, I'm not the most politically savvy person on the planet, but I happen to pay a fair amount of attention because I'm interested and I have a podcast and blah blah blah. Um, I was shocked. I was mortified. I think everybody
Well,
was.
yeah, we just
I
sat there in dumbfounded silence, like, what the fuck is going on?
if that level of concern would have been known that early on, they would have suspended the congressional hearing for the count of the electoral college votes in the morning. They'd have said, "Hey, look, no, we're not meeting today." Because they're literally coming to where we are, and we're
Mhm.
gonna have to put up barricades on the doors. Like, I just don't think, call it poor planning. You could call it that, but it wasn't like a complete um ignorant or like a complete oversight.
It
I don't
wasn't an
I don't
intentional oversight. It was just, I like you said, I was just bad
it,
planning, and
it would be a liken to like saying, and this might be a bad reference, I'm really sorry, why didn't you build, huge steel um you know outside around the twin towers before they flew the planes into them?
because
I
nobody
mean,
ever expected
we
a plane to fly into a fucking
exactly. We knew
skyscraper.
there was tension with Al Qaeda. We knew there was tension with Osama bin Laden, but to have that level of forward thinking is kind of
Eh,
you can't really plan for
like,
something
you
like that.
always, plan for the worst and hope for the best, but sometimes the worst is something that you can't plan for. It's just a surprise.
Exactly.
It's unexpected.
Why
Combo,
why
what are you
didn't we
talking
have
about? Are you talking about the fact that Americans have guns? Is that what you're talking about? I think we kind of covered that too, saying that the police had like don't shoot orders,
yeah.
and I would
And they
even
should have don't shoot orders at Black Lives Matter protests as well until
right
somebody breaks the law and puts other people's lives at risk or their lives at risk. I mean, we say the same thing all the
all
time.
the time,
I don't want to live in an echo chamber, but
right?
at the same time, it's the same rules, the same principles should be used across the board. I think we can all agree on that. Instead of saying, well, if they were black, they'd have been gunned down. Like,
That's
well,
not true.
yeah, and okay, and maybe whatever, maybe, but what is that helping right now?
Yeah, like I said earlier, by
What
saying if they were black, they would have been massacred. That's not helping anything.
instead of saying something to let the black community know that you're on their side, you can say something to let the black community know that you're on their side without going into such a fantasy land where you're living in these hypothetical situations. Like, you're not helping anything.
Right.
Nothing is going to come of that. Chris Evans, nothing is going to change because you tweeted that. All
Yeah.
you're going to do is stir up the fire.
Yeah,
You're
you've
just
literally
stoking the
sat
coals.
behind your phone with whatever you did, and whether it was an intentional or not, you just picked the pot up and said, "Imagine if they were black," and then just
Yeah,
and stirred the shit out of the pot.
you're not doing anything, man.
It's
You're
not helping. So now all you've done on that is opened up your tweet. If you even turned comments on
But-
that for
but,
hatred to flow.
I'm using my platform to promote racial equality. Okay,
Okay, fine, but
I would love it actually if you did that. I would love it if you actually did that and you were actually using your platform to create an equal ideology across all race and take a race completely out of the equation. Let's just look at a person for a person.
yeah.
But you're not doing that.
You didn't do that. You thought you would say something like that you would get mega brownie points with for the black community,
Exactly.
so that when your next movie comes out, you get a fat paycheck off your incentive in your contract.
Smash that like button and let's cast a whole black squad and let's make the producer LBGTQ. She follows all those, and anything we can do for the most woke we can be. And if that's the right person for that job, LGBTQ person for the director role, go crazy. And if the black co-star and the entire cast is black because they are the best person for the job, go crazy. I love it. I don't want anyone to be discriminated against because of the color of their skin or how they live their life. That's what we're fighting for.
Right.
But instead we say this person deserves a special pass because of XYZ. Well, no, bullshit. How about we just go back to the drawing board and say this person is better for the job than this person? Doesn't matter what they believe.
Exactly.
They're going to get the job done.
Exactly. And I just it's just like, Abby said a little bit earlier. She's like, the difference between us, Alex and I, and other people is they don't have the common sense to sit down and think. And now a lot of that has happened like just recently through this country is just nobody sits down and takes a minute to really think about anything more anymore. They just run off half cocked off a hot take.
It's because if you don't agree with me, you're an asshole and you're a racist or you're a jerk and you're quote unquote woke, and we can't sit down and have a real conversation about it
Exactly.
because our intentions aren't the same most times. We don't have the same intentions. We want the far right pride and for all of our Proud Boys to say, "Man, you really stood up for the cause." And on the left, we want all of our woke friends to say, "Oh man, did you see how many likes she got on that Instagram story because she's so empowering the black community?" Empower the black community. Go for it.
Yeah, so shop black communities,
and
support local black communities, fine, good, but you don't have to.
perfect, great, that's all awesome. And don't be a Proud Boy because you're just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, the Proud Boy is just another
But-
name for being a fucking racist.
I can't even justify those people.
No,
Like,
they're just
like you
psychopaths.
said.
You're like, I'm a Proud Boy. Okay, what are you proud about? Your racism, because your movement was literally founded in direct opposition to the Black Lives Matter movement.
The South will rise again, brother.
The South's not gonna rise
Don't
again.
worry, one of these
You
days.
dumb backwoods fucks that live in Mississippi and Alabama, get it through your thick inbred
And Texas.
skulls. The South is not gonna rise again, you racist fucks. Sorry, rant over. But
Yeah.
like, it's
I
like
was reading
seriously,
Combo's
come
comments.
on. The
Yeah,
definition of
and-
equality has been blurred over the years, and the divide in America and other countries have been amplified by social media and modern political climate. Yeah, no, it's just and like we've said multiple times before, the political machine in our country takes issues like that and divides them into bipartisan issues when they don't need to be partisan issues. Literally a humanity as a whole issue, and stop trying to take issues like that and draw a line down the middle of them and create fight and contention where there doesn't need to be. Stop looking at each other as the enemy because you believe something different than the other person. Instead, and this is where common sense and where Alex and I look at things and go, you can agree to disagree and still be civil.
And still
you
sit
can-
have a beer together and talk about something else other than what you disagree about.
And you can agree, you can disagree on politics and how politics should run all you want, but there comes a point we need to look at certain issues and go, hey, politics aside, this is how, this issue needs to be handled XYZ way.
Yeah.
And you can both go, oh, you know what, yeah, this is a humanitarian issue, this is this type of issue, like, whether it be, racial equality, fucking COVID. It's not a bipartisan issue. It's a humanity and like a human like welfare issue with when you're talking about COVID, and you just go, this is how we need to handle this, and there's no reason for it to be a bipartisan issue.
That's I think the best word to use talking about all of this is and it gets propagated by Fox News and CNN, and we've talked about all this so many times, taking what should be 100% issues. And I'm pretty sure we've talked about 100% issues before. If you haven't listened, I could say a statement like, no child should go to bed hungry. And 100% of people should agree with that statement. Yep, we don't want kids going to bed hungry. And there's going to be that 5% that say, well, I don't know about all kids. I think, maybe just American kids shouldn't go to bed hungry. And then they rile up and they try to steal that 10 to 15% and say, well, now that I think about it, he's got a pretty instead, if we just said, fuck off. No, this is pretty cut and dry. Kids shouldn't go to bed hungry. We could eliminate it. But with the use of social media, the use of our fucking president just using platforms like major media to rile those people up, you end up with a storm on Capitol Hill.
Yep.
He did it. He has been a major contributor the last 4 years to what happened on Capitol Hill. If I would say the overwhelming contributor.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some distrust in the government, which we've all felt. We've known it's there for a long time. Maybe 5%. I would give it 3. I would say 97% of blame that lies on what happened on Capitol Hill lies on Donald Trump.
Yep, because all he did for
Right.
4 years was stir the pot, stir the pot, stir the pot, and then he
That's what he does
acted like,
best.
and he acted like a giant baby, because, and this goes back to, I think it even goes back to the fact, when he was like, oh, my dad gave me a small loan of $1 million. This man has had everything handed to him in life. And yes, you can look at it and go, well, he's had failed businesses, businesses go bankrupt, yada yada yada. Okay, that's fine, and that was his learning curve. But for the majority of his
Okay.
life, he's been so very wealthy and powerful that he just gets whatever he wants. And this was his reality check to say, hey, Donnie, you don't always win. You don't always get what you want. And he's like the little 5-year-old that's been spoiled for its entire life that finally gets told no. And he's chucking a fucking wobbly right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he and what he's done is he's whipped up all his other, supporters that are in kind of sort of the same boat, and they're all fucking chucking a wobbly. And they went from chucking a wobbly to now it's a violent fucking tantrum. And what needs to happen is daddy's hand needs to come down and smack the fuck out of all of them
Exactly.
and put them in the corner and say, go sit there and think about what you've done. And for the people that say, and I've heard people say this, for the people that say, oh, these people are going to get off scot-free, no one's going to get arrested. That's not true. 52 people have already been arrested in this thing. And the FBI has all of the photos and all of the videos and everything that you dumb idiots posted because, A, you don't want to wear a mask because you think COVID's a fucking hoax. And like Alex said earlier, if you wore your mask because you think you could get sick, it would make it a lot.
Their job tougher.
It would at least make their job a lot harder to fucking figure out who you are. But you guys walked in there with your faces on display before God and everyone, and it might take a while, but they're gonna fucking find you, and they're gonna be pissed because they're like, oh, but I support Trump, and they're gonna go, well, Trump put out this fucking executive order, and now you're going to jail for 10 years. The homeboy that sat in Nancy Pelosi's desk in her office, he's going to jail for 10 years. Homeboy that stole the podium, you're going to get found. Jail, 10 years. Because now you fucking broken in. Honestly, I'd throw the book at him. That's breaking and entering, destruction of federal property, and burglary. So, jail. Anybody else that did anything else dumb like that while you were in there, got your picture taken? Jail. Viking helmet guy, as cool as you looked, jail.
I don't think Viking helmet guy actually went past any real like law boundaries. Because again, you can go into the Capitol.
Right. But I don't think
just
you can get into the chambers where they were supposed to be having a meeting.
That's where the lady got shot. Because they were trying to evacuate all the Congress members out of there. And they're like, hey, we got our guns drawn. Don't come in here. And they're like, it's a revolution. And they're like, hey,
you know what happens in revolutions? People get shot.
Don't come in here. And she tried to get in there, and then the shot went off. It's very.
And what's going to happen is the people that are like super like those. I'll say it. They're far right crazies. They're going to put her up as a martyr to the cause, and she's not a martyr.
There's already been tweets saying that she's the first martyr for the revolution, and blah,
it's
blah,
going to be
blah.
really fucking embarrassing when that
People
tweet
are like,
ages horribly, and there's no
people
revolution.
on Twitter are like tweeting like, say your name, what her name was, say your name, what her name. I'm like, guys, it's not the Breonna Taylor did not deserve to be shot.
Yeah, not even the slightest.
It was,
this chick
it was against the law for them to shoot her. Actually, the roles were reversed. So let's not
lump them together
and say her death was as justified as Breonna Taylor, because if you had to change it, Breonna Taylor goes all the way up to unjustified and hers goes all the way down to unjustified.
To justified,
so,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Or to justified. Sorry. Breonna Taylor should not have been shot. That lady equals
Definitely should have,
Should've been shot.
probably should have been shot. They told you
I'm
no,
sorry, yeah.
and you did it anyway. So
We had our guns drawn. I'm telling you not to come in here, and you're still trying to come in here.
Right.
So X plus Y equals Z, and sorry,
Yeah.
I don't like when anybody dies.
yeah.
Make that clear.
You catch up with Chad again. Combo again. Agree to disagree is a truly underappreciated statement. Yes. Trump orchestrated the attack on Capitol Hill. I don't. Orchestrated is a strong word.
Well,
I don't think he sat
he-
there and planned it. I definitely think that he helped incite the.
I thought the same thing, and then Combo immediately understood indirectly, which is basically what we said. He indirectly orchestrated the attack.
Right.
I
And
agree
then
with that 100%.
And then he continues. I think if he wasn't president, Capitol Hill. But think if he wasn't president, would Capitol Hill had been invaded? Would those 4 people be dead? Would America have the highest death rate in the world?
No, we
That's a lot of
probably have
It's
we probably have about the same death rate, I would say.
I don't. I'm
compared
not.
to
Yeah,
the-
I'm not putting all of the COVID deaths solely at Trump's feet.
Oh, never mind. I didn't see due to COVID. I was thinking if Biden would have been elected.
Yeah, no, I'm
It
not.
just
I'm not.
would have been. It would have been the death rate probably would have been about the same.
Mhm.
Honestly,
Just given how our
'cause
healthcare
people-
system is.
people would have. Well, now I'm just saying directly from the protests.
Oh, okay.
So you would have had more looting happening probably. It would have been the same thing, man. Like you'd have had 5% looting and getting aggressive, and you'd have had 95% coming out and saying, "Do we really have 4 more years of this asshole? We feel like we've been plotted against. You know, we don't. We want to end racial inequality." Blah blah blah. It would have looked very similar, just probably the days following the election
Right.
versus all of these
Versus-
rednecks to wait and get riled up and get super pissed.
Right.
Again, talking about the 5% this storm,
Right.
not the other 95 that were peaceful.
Right. And then Combo said, I doubt it. And that comment was about me saying, these people are going to get arrested. I actually don't doubt it.
Oh,
I-
yeah, no, they're going down, man.
They're going down.
Yeah, the police chief, again, that Washington police chief, the black guy, he was already posting numbers saying if you have any pictures or if you recognize, there's a whole slew of pictures,
And-
and it wasn't everybody there. Again, because I hate to keep saying it, I sound like broke record. We both do. The 5% is the
Right.
5% that actually needed to be arrested. The rest of the people were just there
Right.
doing what
Like,
they
there's going to be a lot of
wanted to do peacefully.
there's a lot of pictures and videos that the DC police and the FBI is involved in this too.
Yeah.
That the FBI and the DC police are going to have to cooperate on, and there's a lot of pictures and videos that they're going to have to sift through. It's going to take time. It's going to take some time, but at the end of the day, these people are going to get arrested, and they're going to have to, face the Reaper, not the Reaper. That's kind of extreme. They're gonna have
gonna
to.
get the
They're gonna have
death
to.
penalty.
They're gonna have to face the music. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, they're gonna get prison time. No,
No,
doubt.
100%.
Yeah, podium guy, Nancy Pelosi.
Oh,
guy,
got you, Combo. You weren't saying doubt it to my comment. You were saying to the other stuff. Okay, got you.
The guy that got on the floor of Congress and said Trump won this election. Other people taking pictures of the documents.
Yeah, that's a federal offense. That's
yeah.
that's a breach of no, I wouldn't say top secret, but it's a breach of confidential information.
It's anarchy, dude.
Yeah.
It was. Again, I'll eat some crow on this because I'm just having this realization. It's what I thought Black Lives Matter wanted more than anything was anarchy, and I still think the organization does, but not the movement. I think
Right,
the
and I was talking to my
to what we want.
I was talking to my dad about that. I was like, Alex and I agree with the sentiment behind the phrase Black Lives Matter, but we don't agree with the organization itself and who founded it and all that kind of stuff.
I don't want anarchy. I
don't.
want
I
what
don't want
happened on
anarchy.
Capitol to happen at all. Whether it's Black Lives Matter, Proud Boys, whatever, I don't care. Again, look at Humans for Humans and just we all want very similar things, but the more we continue to divide ourselves, the more shit like this happens.
Right. And
It needs to not happen.
I don't want to turn on the news one day and just see images of buildings burning across America. That's not what I want to see happen. There's a way to go about this, and it doesn't have to involve violence and violent overthrow.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it'll take longer. It might take longer to do it the peaceful way and the right way,
Well, yeah, and
but
that's
it's the best way. Nothing good ever comes without hard work.
and here we go all the way right back to the same vacuum that we live in. We all want instant gratification. We all
Yep.
want that like right now. We all want that retweet. We want it to happen right now. We can't stick around and wait anymore, man. We got to start a revolution and it's got to start today. It's like just be patient. Let the system work, because if you let it work in most times, I'm not saying just sit back and put your head in the sand, because that's when things start to get bad. But if you show them enough that we're watching and we're paying attention and we're not going to stand for this, and if it does come down to a situation where we really need to stand up as a nation and protest, I'm not saying get violent, we will all stand up and say, hey, no more.
Right.
We're done with this. We have the power to elect who we want.
Yep, for sure. And I feel like that also, if we could, and this, I don't see this happening very soon because of the people that are in Congress. But if we would enact term limits and be able to
Yeah.
vote on term limits for people in Congress, I feel like a lot of this other stuff could be avoided as well.
The one thing we could probably agree on from Democrat to Republican, we should all pretty much be on board with that idea.
And they put it before Congress before, and it's got put forth, and it's got immediately voted down.
Well, Ben, once they're there, you know what that paycheck looks like.
It's not even that much. It's
$100.
$100,000, and these people are rolling in millions.
Yeah, 140 grand.
And they just these millions of dollars are coming from PACs, super PACs, and lobbyists that just line the pockets of wherever the fuck they need to line the pockets of to get their agendas pushed. But that's
Donations,
a
man,
whole
donations.
different can of worms that we can get into some other time.
I was just gonna say, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. It
Yeah.
would be beautiful if we just elected those officials and just agreed to pick up their tabs. You know what I mean? Pick your house, or this is the house you live in, and we'll give you a stipend for food. Make sure you're well taken care of, equal to about 140 grand a year, or hell, even bump that to 300. Most people live a pretty nice life around 350 grand a year,
Right.
and say you cannot accept, you don't have a bank account, you do not accept money, you do not give money. This is the stimulus that we have for you, and you live within this.
Your job is to
Go accept the job. Fantastic. Your job is to vote and do what you think is
your
best for this
your
country.
constituents would want you to do. You were an elected official, so your job is to not say thank you people who voted me in and then fuck them off as soon as you get into Washington and do whatever the hell you want.
Let me put it to you this way. It's like you're hiring a coach of a baseball team who the Yankees aren't paying the Red Sox to say, hey, could you skip out of the World Series this year? And then the Yankees say, well, you know, they got some pretty good sponsorships over there. We could pick up an extra 500K for 500 million from Colgate, whatever. You know, how corrupt would that be?
Right.
But that's the system that we live within.
Right.
Vote because they don't want to piss off lobbyists. They have
They vote where the money is.
for.
They vote where the money is instead of voting
Crazy, dude.
voting for what their constituents, what they think their constituents would want them to vote for.
It's the same reason why Netflix won't pick up documentaries about corrupt shit going on in Russia or in the Middle East, because they don't want to piss off their Syrian investors.
Yep.
It happened. Government has turned into a business, and in that you cannot run a fair government with
Like a
money
business.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it. It's stupid.
I'm gonna circle back to something that was said in chat a while ago, just because this is like another testament to why we do this podcast. So Gale Force, and Alex and I both know her as Abby, said, "I'm not gonna lie, I thought these thoughts about Imagine If They Were Black." She thought that, but then, we gave our take in the comments that we said about that and they said that it opened her eyes, and she was glad that we talked about this. That's the type of shit that we
Good.
like to hear, because
Good.
that's one of the main reasons that we started this podcast, was to just put things out there like that and go look at it in this light. Maybe just look at it. You don't have to agree, you don't have to disagree, but at least take a look at it and
about it.
just think about it. And then if we happen to change your mind and you agree or like with the things that we say, then cool. If not, that's also cool, as long as you keep it civil and shit like that, then we'll be fine. And we can agree to disagree, or we can agree and we'll thank you for letting us change your mind and that kind of shit.
And we've talked about it all the time. If we get something wrong, or if we're not looking at something in the right light, I'm the first to say, hey, you might have it better. I'm an idiot.
It's
I'm
happened.
not that smart.
It's happened twice to us now.
Yeah.
The first one was with Jacob Blake. We kind of had a quick reaction on the Jacob Blake incident back when it happened. And then the next week we came back and said, hey guys, you know what? More shit came out. We did some more looking into it. We might have been wrong. We were wrong in our initial assessment. Here's what we think now. And same time this time. We said, probably not going to riot. It'll be all right. We're eating some crow right now because we were wrong. But we're the first ones to admit, hey, we were wrong. And we'll tell you, we didn't mean to mislead you. We weren't trying to mislead you. We just talked about what we had with the information we had. And then as new information came to light, we did our research and we looked into it, and our opinion changed.
And the only reason I'm sad I'm wrong is because it was such an embarrassment for our country.
Yes, 100%.
Like, if I find out something that I didn't know yesterday, and especially if it changes my viewpoint on a very, serious matter, I'm happy to have that knowledge and to be able to say, yesterday I didn't know this, but thank God I'm not ignorant anymore. And today I have this information.
100%.
People can't do that. Like, our culture,
The thing
I'm
is
not
that
saying people, everybody here that listens to us,
I feel like
hope
you have the
they're
ability to
listening
do that.
because they agree with us in that realm. But so much of society just wants to sit and throw shit at each other like primates. It's just
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
I can't tell you the number of Facebook comments I had typed out. None of them were hostile or anything like that, but I just knew it was going to turn hostile if I commented that, and I didn't want to even put myself in that situation.
I've done that before too. I've wanted to call people out for just their utter stupidity, and I was like, you know what? That's a fight that I don't want to have to deal with. Because A, it's exhausting, and B, you're not going to get your point across because that person is already set in their ways, and they don't have the ability to think about anything differently.
The one I succumbed to this week, only one, was about Texas and Texas A&M. That's where I'm willing to get a little belligerent and be an idiot and be like, hey, don't you talk about the Horns like that, man.
He does it to me all the time because I crap on him all the time.
Just go back to Aggie land and do your little thumbs up cheers or whatever you do in that Colt.
Yeah. I think the other thing that
that's extremely belligerent.
Also, speaking of belligerent people, this comes back to Trump. The other thing I think we wanted to cover, and we probably won't go too in depth into this just because I don't know. We'll see.
Time just flew by.
It flew by. We really got into it.
That hour got swallowed up in space and time.
We Twitter and I think Facebook and Instagram are also kind of on this bandwagon with it as well. Twitter's banned Trump permanently. They gave him a perma ban from Twitter. He is no longer allowed on Twitter, allowed to speak his mind on Twitter, anything else like that. And I think Facebook and Instagram are considering at least suspending him for a time. With that, I feel like those corporations, those companies have, as much as I don't like what the dude tweets, they've overstepped their bounds of the Second Amendment and gone into censorship, where they don't necessarily have the right to be the word police or the thought police or whatever. Like that's not their jurisdiction. Like you are an app, you're a company, a platform for people to speak their minds, and you can delete tweets or posts if they are of a terroristic intent, threatening life, talking about kidnapping or harming children, shit like in that realm, then yes, by all means, censor that and get that out of there. As far as people I feel like just a dangerous precedent, to where these companies can now start controlling what and people can and cannot say. And I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable with it. I might not like what he tweets, but I don't think that they have the right to just be like, no, you're solely to blame for this, so you don't get to speak on our platform anymore. And part of it is that the people that run those apps and those companies are pretty fucking liberal. So they already have this great disdain for Trump. So they just kind of feel like they can just and jab him with it. But it sets they're not. I don't think they're thinking about what precedent that sets for the rest of the people that use their platform.
Here's the most ironic thing about it to me, is that they are directly recognizing that their platform has an algorithm that is designed to rile people up so that they can profit from it, right? They're indirectly recognizing something that they refuse to recognize, where they could correct and say, hey, we're not going to design these to hold your attention anymore so that we can profit off of it. Again, it goes back to profit. But then they're going to censor Trump and say, we don't want people like him on our platform because he riles too many people up and he basically incites violence. Twitter, you did that.
You do this.
Algorithms, you did that. That is just as much your fault as it is his fault.
And there's people on all of those platforms that say worse things.
Pick your side, dude. Do you want to be a free and open system that's not designed to attract you, to grab your attention, to just be an open platform? And hey, if you violate our guidelines, we're going to ban you, because you're well within that right. But you did this. Twitter did this because you design your algorithm so if I get more fired up and like more Trump tweets, I see more Trump tweets, and then I start getting, that's all I see every day, all day, is I'm just smashing those hearts and those retweets, and I get so riled up that I'm ready to storm the fucking Capitol building and get shot and die.
Right, like, and
social media, this is your fault just as much as it is Trump's.
Exactly.
I won't say just as much,
but you have a hand in this.
You are laying in this bed with him.
Yeah, and
because you did this as well.
Like Alex said. So, like, for example, for me, I like a lot of things about Razorback sports. I like a lot of things about Chiefs sports. I like a lot of things about video games. Right. So they literally, as you're scrolling through Twitter, they put a box up that says, "Hey, follow these topics." Not even people, just topics, and then these tweets will start coming more and be more frequent on your timeline. I don't click on them because I'm like, easy. My timeline's already like full of enough shit that I want and even don't want to see. So it's the same. It's the same thing. Abby's saying his tweets are equally or could be as dangerous as things like sex trafficking. It's like the idea of why didn't they get more security at the Capitol? He's breached such a major subject and could make it worse. They have to be proactive. I think they realize they fucked up and now they're nervous and trying to put out fires.
Well, if they
maybe
realize they fucked up, I don't think that's what it is. I think they're all greedy pigs.
I think what they're trying to do is really get brownie points with the people that hate Trump so much. Yeah. So they like Alex said, profit off of it. So people would be like, "Oh, fuck yeah, Twitter banned Trump."
It's
now I'm gonna fucking spend more time on this app and however that leads to them making money, then like, bam. And it but like I said, it just sets such a dangerous precedent for these social media companies to start monitoring normal civilians' communiques and censoring what they want, where they want. If they if somebody at Twitter and Twitter staff looks through and sees a tweet from me, maybe that they don't agree with, and that, in the same vein, they could just be like, banned. And then I'm just like, what the, that wasn't even that bad of a tweet. And then it's just because Twitter said, I don't fucking like you. Like,
I got a comment censored on Instagram, and I didn't even use a swear word.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, he sent me that. It was insane. It was it was a mild comment that he was just disagreeing with
I said
somebody,
uneducated swine,
and they were like, "No, you're name calling."
and that was enough for me to get. And again, you need to make up your mind, because there's a valid argument. They're a platform. You have to agree to their terms and conditions when you get your account. Blah blah blah. Okay, that's valid. But also, your your algorithm, the way that you've set this up, has also contributed to and I get it's profitable, but at a certain time you have to step aside and say, okay, blood diamonds are profitable, so
But
where
they're
do you
not
have to sit?
fucking
Where do you have
ethical.
to yeah, they're not ethical. So at a certain point in time you have to say, okay, where do we draw the line between being profitable and ethical? And they haven't drawn that line at all. It's all been, how can we be more profitable? They don't care what happens. They don't give a shit who gets riled up and who joins the Proud Boys. And again, you should have that right to do that. But if you get into a situation where this group is clearly going to be a danger to our society and unethical, that's when we say, hey, it can't happen.
Right.
We can't have it here.
So we got more. Abby said, it goes back to what I said earlier. I think it took this big of an event in history to wake everyone up, social media included. What if it's bigger than that, though? What if this was the wake up for social media? And it very well could be, but also, like you said earlier, or just a second ago, actually, only time will tell. And unfortunately, yes, only time will tell on this. But I'm I'm gonna for now stay with the opinion that this is too far, and it's
And
them getting involved in shit they don't need to be involved in.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
you're
off.
good. Go ahead.
There's been a movement. The Social Network is a fantastic documentary, where a lot of ex CEOs and people who design the algorithms that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is the guy who leads it, who's like the lead documentarian, who is meeting before. I think he's met before
Congress probably.
Congress to say that this is getting dangerous. It's leading to teen suicide rates.
Yeah.
Like this isn't new. This isn't a new discussion, but it's all coming to a head now, where those greedy assholes might have to finally step back and say, what are we doing?
Right.
Like, teen suicide rate wasn't enough, but now that the Capitol building has been stormed, we might really need to, start trying to find a way to make this as ethical as possible, instead of trying to find ways to just make as much money as possible.
Right. Combo is
This has been a
also
movement. It's not new.
Yeah, Combo also said that he definitely thinks that it is censorship, and as much as Trump uses Twitter to create misleading information, hate speech, arguably, and false information, they shouldn't be able to ban him for simply voicing his opinions, especially if Twitter is allowing opposing opinions with the same kinds of misleading false info and hate speech. They need to balance the scales or not censor. Which is true, which is what I was trying to say earlier. Trump says that kind of shit like all the time, and now they finally banned him. But there's people on the other side that say the exact same kind of shit in opposition to what he said, and those people aren't getting banned. So now you've created a double standard, because like I said earlier, the people that run these companies, and I'm not being a dickhead, the people that run these companies are liberal. They're more liberal. They have left-leaning tendencies, all of that shit.
And you're not being a dick. That's just a.
It's just fact. I'm not trying to talk out of my ass. Is basically what I'm saying. It's like it's facts. Like, and
they'd be assholes if they were Republicans.
Yeah, I would say the same thing if they were a Republican. It's just you've banned Trump for saying the things he said because you don't like him, because you don't agree with him politically. Meanwhile, you have people on the opposite side of the aisle, and even far opposite side of the aisle, that have said similar, if not worse, things, and they're still active on Twitter. You haven't banned them. So, where's your standard? Is it you can use this platform if you only agree with our political ideologies, and if you don't, get fucked, find a new platform? Or are you going to step back and remove your political ideologies out of your platform and leave it as a fair and open space for people to have discourse?
You got to make your mind up.
You got to make your mind up. Make it up, one or the other. And then when
Yeah.
you make your mind up, then I will decide whether or not I continue to use your platform.
Exactly. And then I can decide. The scary thing is, like, now Apple has threatened to delete Parler from the App Store, which
I saw that.
Parler is basically Twitter, but it's uncensored. There's no algorithms that like direct, like you see.
Yeah, you can just say whatever
who
the fuck you want on that.
follow, you say what you want, and if I follow you and you tweeted at 8:55 a.m. and I'm looking at 8:56 a.m., that's what I'm gonna see. You know, I'm not gonna see your Parler quote. I don't even know what they call it. You know, later on at 12, only if I scroll
1,000 miles.
Yeah, or if I follow 5 people, it won't take me that long.
Right.
Because I can only see what 5 people have said.
Right. Abby also said, but like, how big are those other people on the platforms? And she agrees with Combo's statement. You know, they should look into it further, but I think it comes down to the platforms too. It's definitely on the platforms, and they need to create. What I would like to see them do is create a fair and equal place for people to discuss whatever the fuck they want to discuss and express their opinions. And if those opinions don't line up with fall in line with the guidelines, then censor them that way, because you broke. You essentially, when you get these apps, you sign a contract by agreeing to their terms and conditions. So if you break those terms and conditions, then there's repercussions. But some of those.
Sorry.
No, I was to say, like, it doesn't really. It shouldn't matter how big of a presence you have, like whether you're the president or not. And some of those other people that say things on the other side are people that have large followings, for example, like Chris Evans or celebrities.
Or just say the president shouldn't have a fucking Twitter.
Yeah, even
like,
put that
I'm fine with that.
Put that into politicians' contracts. You guys don't get to tweet. Like, I get that is how you're gonna reach a lot of your constituent base or a lot of your supporter base nowadays, given because we're younger. But don't you can't have one. Have somebody that's, you know, a fucking social media person that's educated.
Allow your team to tweet for you.
Yeah, like, have somebody that's educated and knows the ins and outs of social media and how to do, you know, word things in such a way that it's A, not going to incite fucking rioting and violence, and B, follow in line with the terms and conditions that you've agreed to. But you yourself don't get to tweet. And quite frankly, how the fuck do you have time to tweet as the president anyway?
Well, Abby's point is great. Like, this dude was our president. Like, I distinctly remember, this was when I was so anti-Twitter. This is going back, like, God, I don't know. I was teaching preschool at the time. And I remember I came home and Hillary Clinton had tweeted something, and it was like national news of what she tweeted. And I remember looking at my roommate at the time and saying, I can't fucking believe that presidential candidates and like politicians, we're getting our news from what they said on Twitter. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hate that headlines.
And now it's just common practice.
Yeah, now it's just like, oh, headline today, Trump tweeted this. I don't care. I do not care that that's what he tweeted today. He could tweet.
I'm just as guilty, because I had that thought a while back, and I was like, this is wild. And nowadays, I think it's common practice too.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like I don't. For the most part, I don't care.
Gail, I think they should just do their jobs.
I would much rather have him tweet about the shit he took in the White House toilet or the breakfast that he had from McDonald's than the shit he's been putting out. Like, do that. I think that's what Twitter was supposed to be. Just fucking dumb 160 character blurbs of like stupid shit.
You used to have to text your tweet in.
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
I didn't have a Twitter back when that was what it was, but
I didn't have a Twitter then either, but I remember the days where you had to text your tweet in, and it was not near the platform, obviously, that it is today. And I'm going to say it one more time, then I'm going to be done talking about it. Make up your mind. You know, do you want to be a free and open platform, or do you want to openly admit that you're just trying to profit as much as you can from this app and you don't care what people say?
Yeah.
And how people feel.
Yeah.
Make up your mind.
Just pick one. Stop riding the fence. Because riding the fence isn't comfortable for anyone.
And Apple, don't fucking take Parler out of the Apple Store for just being a free and open marketplace.
Google did the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's
Like,
dumb.
just you again. I'm not even gonna say it again.
Yeah, just I think at this point now, I think we're just gonna turn it over to the chat. If you guys have any other questions or things, hit us with it, and we'll do a few minutes of that.
Yeah, we jumped up to 7 people there.
Yeah,
I don't know who's out there.
but yeah,
Other
just
than our loyal following. We appreciate. We say it like all the time, but we really do appreciate you guys. It makes time go by so much faster.
if the chat's active, it helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We're a
so
podcast for the people, by the people.
if you guys have anything else for us, now's the time. Let it be known, and we'll talk about it. But if not, then if you guys don't have anything, I'll give you guys a couple more seconds or whatever to type something out if you've got something else. But
This was a serious podcast.
very. But if we don't,
I got a little sweaty.
I mean, I got pretty fired up too. So if you guys don't have anything for us, then I'll just move into our big announcement if you haven't heard it already, and then we'll go from there. Squash. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did see that. And I forgot to mention it, but we'll circle back to it now. First comment that I had, this is from Squash, my brother. First comment that I had was about the Pennsylvania GOP senators that refused to seat the Democrat that won the election. And that's news to me. I hadn't heard about that.
Had a sneeze coming on. Sorry, got her out. No, I hadn't seen that either.
So what happened? So,
thanks, Spaceman. He said, "Bless you."
Spaceman's so nice. So what? So the Democrat for Pennsylvania won the election for Pennsylvania for whatever district or whatever that was, and the senators from Pennsylvania just said nah.
Were they also storming the Capitol roughly 5 days ago?
Could be a whole nother episode. Let me put it this way. Let me put it to you this way, Squash. Let me and Alex look into it and see what we find, and then we'll go from there.
Also, not to put that to bed, Squash, but we'll do more research. Spaceman says episode idea Skinwalker Ranch. You're talking right up my lane.
I have heard about Skinwalker Ranch.
Ranches?
I've heard about it. I know.
Man,
I'd have to.
You want to talk about a good old conspiracy? It is a good old conspiracy, bro.
It sounds very familiar, and I don't remember exactly what it's about right now. So I'm for it. We can do an episode on it at some point.
I could probably talk about it for. That's gonna be one of those where I buy a nice bottle of whiskey because we're gonna get down some rabbit holes, brother. I don't know what's true and I don't know what weighs up, but we'll get down some rabbit holes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, Spaceman could be the guest. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that sounds good, Spaceman. We'll have a look at it.
That's one we need to bring Mac in. So.
Yeah, let me.
Also, for the listeners, we've talked about bringing Mac on full time, but his schedule being dad is real tough, so. He might be like a reoccurring.
He'll be in and out.
We're trying to work out the logistics.
Yeah, he'll be in and out. Being in different time zones is kind of a bear sometimes.
Well, also, if anybody could comment what time works best for them.
Oh,
or
true.
Let us know what time works best for them, because if it works later, we can do later.
Yeah. Yeah, just on that, just hit us up on social medias or leave a comment under the YouTube video or something, and let us know. I might put a poll out. I don't know.
A poll would be nice. We just need a way to reach everybody.
Yeah. So let me
like all the day ones at least.
Let me you know what? Okay, I'll do it this way. Next week I'll run a poll in the chat. And we'll see what time works for you guys. If this time frame is good, then cool. But if
do it on Twitter,
we can do it on I could do it on Twitter. I just don't know how much reach I have, but we'll see. I'll put a poll out this week on my personal Twitter, and see what that brings back, and we'll go from there on that.
Thinking out loud.
Yeah, just thinking out loud right now. But yeah, let me reorientate and re kind of figure out what Skinwalker Ranch is. It's very familiar. It's like niggling something in the back of my head that I've heard about before. But
yeah, I'll chat with you a little bit off
Yeah.
air because Spaceman's clearly well versed in it, and So am I, because I love a good
Yeah.
conspiracy.
So Combo's
And
thing
yeah,
was Canadian
that was what I was
feds
gonna say.
are looking at making Proud Boys a terrorist organization due to the Capitol riot.
Good,
That's
do it.
I'm for it. Go ahead. I don't know how.
You could do Black Lives Matter also if you want. I don't give a
I don't
shit.
care.
But I think that both of them, again, if I want to talk about the sentiment of being a proud boy, like, be a proud young man. That is just fine.
Just don't
I
be a
think a 12-year-old that's proud of himself is great.
just don't be a racist.
But don't be a fucking Confederate racist that just is now throwing a temper tantrum because your president told you to. And don't embrace Marxism. Don't embrace chaos.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, right?
figure it out.
Can't we all just want the best? Anyway.
And chat's agreeing. Yeah, say keep Mac as a reoccurring guest. Yep, we will. We're working it out on that. Spaceman, if you
I
want,
appreciate that feedback, by the way,
Yeah.
because we kind of went back and forth. Like, should we
Yeah.
keep it just us or?
yeah.
But
Spaceman, go ahead and link me that. Link me that if you want. Yes, Combo. I know we haven't made the Proud Boys a terrorist organization in our own country. We're a little fucking slow and backwards sometimes. Abby said earlier that she just wanted to say thanks because it's nice to talk about this stuff with open-minded people and not her 7th graders. She's a teacher.
that's what we're here for.
So,
Been keeping you close to adults.
yep. You guys don't have anything else, which I think how it's looking, you guys are wrapping it up down there. I will leave you guys with this. So, announcement. Huge announcement. This is big news for us. If you have not yet already heard, Alex earlier this week put in some legwork on a buddy's podcast because that buddy had Spike Cohen. And if you don't know who Spike Cohen is, he was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party this most recent election. So one of Alex's buddies, who also has a podcast, had Spike on their podcast. And Alex just put some feelers out there and was like, what do I got to do to get Spike on our podcast? One thing led to another. We have an interview set up
He's booked, baby.
with Spike motherfucking Cohen for January the 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. He will be with us for close to an hour. If he happens to have extra time, he'll hang around. If not, we'll talk to him for about an hour. My dad has sent me a couple questions that he think would be good for us to ask Spike. If you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to hit me up on my Discord, which most of you in the chat now have my Discord. If you don't, it's not a big deal. That's for another thing.
I will say
but-
that his scheduler gave me a couple like kind of fun topics. We were just kind of chatting. Reagan helped me land the interview.
So
because
shout out to
one
the
that I
5-year-old.
The one that I sent him had Reagan walk in about halfway through. He's like, "Is that your daughter?" I'm like, "No, bonus daughter."
He said, Alex said, well, yes, but actually no.
And he was like, "Well, you treated her like your daughter. Like, that's really cool. You didn't even get upset that she was in the room during your podcast." I'm like, "No, she's 5, or she turned 5 yesterday. She was 4 at the time."
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, so that is happening. So if you guys also have questions that you think you want to hear Spike answer as a politician, feel free to tweet them at me. You can DM them to me or Alex on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, so that's 2 weeks from today. So mark it on your calendars.
Yes. 2
Tell
weeks from
people,
today.
please. For this one, we don't really beg you guys to tell people. We kind of just hint at it. This one, I'm gonna beg you a little bit, please.
I mean, do whatever you want, but it'd be super cool if you did.
Live
had
your
some
lives,
people
but if you
listening.
guys in your daily lives could, tell people about this interview, that'd be super dope because I think it's gonna be a really good episode, and we're super stoked for it. We're fucking excited, and it's huge, and it's gonna be great.
I'm excited, man.
So,
Can't wait.
That's our
Part of the
big.
reason why we got these new mics. We're like,
Yeah, that's literally one of the biggest reasons. We're like, oh shit, we
we're
better
trying to step this up.
we better upgrade the audio quality and get some sort of professionalism going on in some department. So yeah, so that's happening. We're fucking stoked about it. It's gonna be awesome. So tell people if you think somebody in your friend circle, your family circle, your acquaintance circle is remotely interested in politics and wants to listen to a podcast with an actual politician and hear some shit that happened. We'll probably talk about the election. Spike's gonna get into some of his other stuff.
I'm gonna leave a little teaser. What I'm being asked to ask him about is the time he almost got arrested in Miami on the campaign trail, and the guy doesn't drink.
So
He actually eats really healthy, and because I wanted to send him a bottle of whiskey, and he was like, "Sorry, man, he doesn't drink." It's like you could send him a case of water. I'm like, that's lame.
yeah, send him a 4-pack of Voss water.
Yeah, like let me find some mountain quality water.
But yeah, so that's gonna be huge. So mark your calendars, man. The 24th, 7. It's already set. I already have the meeting set up and everything. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. That's a hard start time. It's not gonna be like our loose start times that we have now, kind of like roughly. It's a hard start time. So mark that down. But other than that, this has been a fucking dope episode. Appreciate all you guys turning out, keeping the chat active. We love it. For our YouTube viewers, we appreciate you guys too. If you're new,
Smash that like button, bro.
if you're new to the channel, and you enjoyed the episode, hit the like button, leave us a comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. For all our other listeners on other podcast platforms, we appreciate you guys too. And until next week, we'll see what this week brings, and we'll go from there. But until then, be safe, be happy, be smart.
Tell somebody you love them.
Get educated and tell somebody you love them, man. Every day's a gift, all right? But until next time, we'll be seeing you. Peace out.
Bye, guys. Love you.